This episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.com offers a wide array of hotels and vacation rentals across the U.S., so you can find exactly what you're booking for. There's literally something for everyone, even those who are impossible to please. Whether you're booking for yourself, your partner, your picky teens, your sleep light, rise early mom, or your high-maintenance group chat, you can find exactly what you're booking for. For me, when I'm booking a stay, I already know I need a few very specific things. I'm talking blackout curtains because I hate waking up to sunlight, a comfy bed that actually feels like a hotel bed, and enough space so I don't feel cramped after a long day. And if I'm booking with my girlfriends, it's a whole different checklist. We're looking for a place with room to spread out, somewhere close to restaurants and the latest nightclubs, and honestly, just a stay that fits everyone's vibe without compromise. That's why I love that if I can find my perfect stay on Booking.com, anyone can. Find exactly what you're booking for. Booking.com, Booking.yeah. Book today on the site or in the app.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 461 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm having a really good week, man.
Yeah.
I've had a run of good weeks.
That's good.
It is good.
Keep it running.
I'll try to keep it going.
Yeah, keep it going.
Let's go ahead and give our Patreon shout outs. We had Andrew Bonham.
What's going on, AB?
Jessica Kramer Gregory.
Hey, JKG.
Stacy Coral Leva.
Hey, SCL.
Ashley.
What's going on, Ashley?
Tim Moran.
Hey, Tim.
You really cracked yourself up on that one, didn't you?
I did.
Lori Quattrociochi.
I just like that name. Like I got to keep saying.
I don't know if we're saying it correctly at all, but it's fun.
I like it.
And last but not least, Elle Miller.
Hey, Elle.
And then if we go back into the vault, this week we selected Brittany.
Hey, Brittany. See how I changed it up a little bit?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Gibbs, we have a new episode out right now on True Crime All the Time where we're talking about Christina Sanubane. She was stabbed to death days after leaving an abusive relationship and moving into a new home for a fresh start. Her ex-boyfriend was a person of interest. He was questioned, but he seemed to have a pretty good alibi, so authorities had to turn to alternate suspects. It's a good episode.
It is a good episode.
Make sure you check that one out. All right, buddy, are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved?
I am.
We're talking about the disappearance of Rico Harris. Rico Harris, a former Harlem Globetrotter, left his mother's home in California on October 10th, 2014, and has never been seen or heard from again. His vehicle was found in a remote parking lot on Route 16 in Yolo County, but there was no trace of Rico in the surrounding woods. Rico Omar Harris was born on May 19th, 1977. He was the first son of Henry Harris, a former star forward for Idaho State in the mid-70s. After finishing college, Henry played in a semi-professional league in Los Angeles. It was here that he met Rico's mother, Margaret Fernandez. Henry, Margaret, and Rico relocated to Oregon, where Henry was offered a job. The couple later moved back to the LA area, where their next 3 children were born. Henry and Margaret were inseparable for long periods of time. Then suddenly his mood would shift, and he would verbally and physically abuse her. Henry was also verbally and physically abusive to his children, especially Rico. But despite this, Rico craved his father's affection and approval.
I think a lot of kids will do that.
Well, I think a lot of kids naturally long for their parents' approval. I just wonder what the dynamic is in this situation where Rico is being verbally and physically abused by his dad. Does he crave it even more? This approval because, or affection because he's not getting it all the time. And maybe as a kid, he might think, well, if I can get his approval, some of this will stop.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
Margaret eventually left Henry and took the children with her to Alhambra, where she grew up. Henry rarely came to visit his children after Margaret left him. So, I mean, you got to be honest here. Henry was not a great guy.
Not at all.
He wasn't a good husband. He wasn't a good father. Now, he might have been for stretches, because that's what it seemed like. But as it was reported, when his mood would shift and he became verbally and physically abusive. So, to me, that cancels out the good dad or good husband periods of time.
Oh, for sure.
Rico took care of his siblings while his mom worked. In an interview with Fox Sports, Margaret said about Rico, "I don't know how my kid has so many qualities me and his dad don't have. Patient, loving, super enthusiastic. Rico grew up playing basketball. Although he showed promise, he quit at age 15. He and his best friend, David Laura, wanted to be actors. So the two boys commuted an hour and a half each way to Hollywood High School." Well, you're in LA. Is it more likely that someone would want to be an actor than, let's say, me and you growing up in the middle of nowhere, Ohio?
Oh, absolutely. And if you go to like Hollywood High, maybe you'll be in class with some other famous people's kids. Maybe make a connection. And
yeah. Or maybe some kids who are already doing stuff in the world of acting.
Yeah.
Child actors, maybe. Rico left Hollywood High a year later to return to basketball. For most of his teens and early 20s, he was praised for his NBA level potential. The 6'8" teen was said to be a sensation on the court. I mean, 6'8" is a good size, right? For playing basketball.
Right.
Now, I would love to be 6'8".
So would I.
You'd love to be 6 foot.
Oh, man.
But no, seriously,
Yeah.
At 6'2", I was a decent basketball player. But if I was 6'8", I think I would have been better.
See, an extra 6 inches does make a difference.
It does. I've heard that. But when somebody says, that a teenager has NBA level potential.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
Margaret often said her son was born to play basketball. Rico was a Lakers fan, and he looked up to players like Magic Johnson. While living at his mother's home in Alhambra, Rico used his father's home address to enroll at Temple City High School. His junior year, he turned Temple City High into a must-see destination for scouts and basketball aficionados. And that's what one really good basketball player can do. There is a guy playing in the NBA right now by the name of Luke Kennard, who, went to school like a town over.
Right.
From where I live. And I played with his uncles and, I won't say I knew the family, but I used to play against them. They were all good basketball players, but he was in a different class.
Yes.
He ended up going to Duke. He's in the NBA, but he was scoring 40, 50, 60 points in every high school basketball game. Right. It was like a grown man playing against second graders.
Yeah.
He was that good.
Right.
You can just tell when somebody is head and shoulders above everybody that they play against. Now, when you get to college, it starts to even out a little bit. And obviously when you get to the NBA, it evens out quite a bit, and you might not even be close to the level that other people are.
You remember, though, that one time I played some one-on-one with them and smoked them with my fade-out shots?
Mm-hmm. Fade out. You really just outed yourself as someone who knows absolutely nothing about basketball.
Swish.
Swish. David Benezra, Rico's summer AAU coach, told Fox Sports, somehow this small high school team landed Rico, and other teams would double and triple team him, but you could just watch for a couple of plays and you could see the player he could be. But it was said, Gibbs, that even though Rico's school was just a few blocks from his father's home, Henry never came to a single game.
Man, he is not a good father, is he?
No, absolutely not. Yeah, I don't think he was a great person. when Rico was 17 during one of his father's few visits. Rico turned to greet him, and Henry noticed an earring in his ear. Henry beat him across the chest with a hockey stick. Rico was shocked and retreated to his room. He later explained the attack by saying it was his father's defect. He continued to ask about Henry to see if he needed help. At age 19, Rico wanted to reconcile with Henry, but Henry told him he wasn't cut out to be a father. And at least he recognized that, because he sure wasn't.
You're right. And I just think Rico really wanted his dad's
attention, approval, affection. He wanted all of it, and when you have a person like that who's withholding it, and let's say, he did look up to him. He was a good basketball player. Maybe he envied or, looked up to that part. Maybe not so much the dad part, but that thing you want, do you want it even more because you can't get it? And I think for a lot of people, that's true, right? We want what we can't have. In school, Rico was shy. He was also a poor student. His first serious relationship was with a girl named Melinda Young. Melinda came from a family who valued academics, and with her influence, Rico's GPA improved to a 3.0.
Impressive.
Yeah. I mean, that's good for somebody who was labeled as a poor student. Rico's best friend, David Laura, told Fox Sports she was the love of his life. Her family embraced him, and he spent a lot of time over there. The Long Beach Press-Telegram recognized Rico, along with future NBA players Paul Pierce, Jason Terry, and Chauncey Billups, as one of the top players in the West during the 1994-95 season. I mean, if you're mentioned with those guys, Paul Pierce is one of the best. Chauncey Billups was great. Jason Terry was a really good NBA player.
Some top-notch guys.
Yeah, absolutely. UCLA offered Rico a scholarship, but they had to withdraw due to his poor SAT scores. And, there are a lot of kids like that. They're phenomenal basketball players, but they can never go to, let's say, a Division I college because they can't pass the academic portion, or they don't meet the requirements. So they end up having to go to a junior college or something like that.
Yeah. They can try to do all the tutoring they can to hopefully get that score up. But like you said, if they can't, junior college, hopefully you can progress well through that to go ahead and take that next step later.
After graduating high school, Rico attended Arizona State. Under Proposition 48, he attempted to regain eligibility, but he struggled both academically and socially. He called home daily. He was shy, silent in class, and had few close friends. In March 1996, Rico and his teammates G. Gervin and Tommy Prince were arrested for unlawful imprisonment after two women said the players forced them to perform sex acts against their will. Rico was the only one not accused of the more serious charge of sexual assault. Now, the charges were later dropped after investigators determined there were inconsistencies in the women's stories. But the university still asked Rico to sit out another year. Instead, he returned to California and enrolled in Los Angeles City College, a 2-year junior college. He hoped to improve his grades and transfer to Rhode Island, where former UCLA coach Jim Herrick had recruited him to go back in high school.
Yeah, some kids like to follow that coach.
They do. And, Jim Herrick, he won a national championship at UCLA right before this, I believe. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was the coach when they won.
That's a lot of credibility.
Yeah. Rico was a star at LACC and was one of the best players on the court. He averaged 16.5 points per game. NBA scouts began attending games hoping he might consider going straight to the NBA once he was old enough. His teammate Derek Anderson told Fox Sports he was Lamar Odom before Lamar Odom.
Wow.
And, there's a Netflix documentary out right now on the life and death of Lamar Odom. But Lamar Odom was an unbelievable college player.
Yeah.
And he was good in the pros as well. Really good. He just struggled with some personal demons.
Yes.
Chrisan Thompson, another of Rico's friends and teammate at LACC, told the LA Times, I saw firsthand, Rico could have had $1 million check. Easy. Something happened to my brother in his spirit that didn't allow him to break through the ceiling. So while he was at LACC, they won their first ever California Community College Athletic Association state title. He was named the tournament's MVP. After winning that, he only needed to pass one more class. It was a psychology course before he could transfer to Rhode Island. But halfway through the semester, he stopped attending class and failed.
Man, so close.
The LA Times wrote at the time, it's almost as if Harris purposefully failed the summer class to avoid heading east. And I just wonder, if it goes back to us talking about, he was shy. He was introverted. It's one thing to be really good at basketball. It's another thing to go to, a bigger school where the lights are brighter.
Yeah.
If you're this person who doesn't like the spotlight.
Well, that's true.
Now, Rhode Island's not the biggest school when it comes to basketball.
No.
But they're not small. I think that's where Lamar Odom went, I believe, was Rhode Island.
I mean, they're competitive.
Starting something new isn't just hard, it's terrifying. There's so much work that goes into this one thing that you're not entirely sure will work out. And it can be hard to make that leap of faith. Trust me, when we started this podcast, we weren't even sure what we were doing. And there were a lot of what ifs. But one thing that really helped is having a partner on our side like Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US. From household names like Magic Spoon to True Crime All the Time to brands just getting started. With hundreds of ready-to-use templates, Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store that matches your brand style. You can easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And if you get stuck, Shopify is always around to share advice with their award-winning 24/7 customer support. It's time to turn those what-ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/unsolved. Go to shopify.com/unsolved. That's shopify.com/unsolved. Rico visited UConn, but he returned to LACC for a second season, which he later said was a mistake. I mean, again, if you're getting offers from places like the University of Connecticut, UCLA, you are a very good basketball player because these are big-time basketball schools.
They're not going to take mediocre kids.
Well, they try not to. That's how you become mediocre. They're trying to get the best of the best. Rico became less focused on basketball, and he started partying heavily with his brother Tito in their off-campus apartment. He drank throughout the day to take the edge off his hangovers.
How do you get rid of a hangover? Drink some more.
Hair of the dog, is that what they call it? His drinking, though, didn't seem to affect his playing. But Rico was considered a disruptive influence that season. At one point, he was suspended for 6 games.
I mean, when I bowl, if I drink, I bowl better. Is that the same thing? He can play basketball if he drinks. I can bowl, and he actually bowl better if I drink.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of a different level of athleticism required. That drinking might affect basketball just a hair more than bowling.
My ball's heavier.
It probably is. It's also probably longer at your age.
But to be suspended for 6 games, that's going to be detrimental to his potential career.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like the LA Times wrote, he's trying to derail himself, really.
Like self-sabotaging.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect term. Rico's drinking increased as the season went on. It was said that he was isolated from his peers. He lost his relationship with his high school girlfriend, but recruiters continued calling and writing. He just stopped responding. He believed many of them were interested in him only because of his athletic abilities and not his personal development or character.
Well, unfortunately, he was probably right.
Yeah, I would say most recruiters are interested in your athletic abilities. Now, a lot of them do look at personal, characteristics, your character and things like that. But you can have the best character in the world. If you can't play basketball, you're not getting a scholarship.
Exactly.
Rico declared himself for the 1998 NBA draft. He was invited to the pre-draft camp in Chicago, and that's a big deal because really only the highly regarded prospects get invited. But he didn't take the opportunity and he withdrew from the draft, believing he wasn't ready.
More of that self-sabotage.
And he ended up not going to Rhode Island in the end. He transferred to a smaller school, Northridge. And he said about that decision, I was tired of everybody pressuring me. I was stressed out. And, he did pretty well. He scored like an average of 10 points a game. But scouts could tell that, he just wasn't the same player. And he basically got removed off of most of their lists of prospects.
Yeah. Didn't have the potential they once saw.
No, and maybe that was due to heavy drinking. Maybe that was due to other things. I don't know. He left Northridge shortly after the season ended and never played college basketball again. David Laura told Fox Sports that the only time Rico was really coachable and likable was in high school. That's when he wasn't experimenting with drugs and alcohol. He just wasn't good at dealing with people and their expectations. He did keep playing basketball, though. He didn't give up on his dream of playing in the NBA. He played for short periods with the International Basketball League San Diego Stingrays and St. Louis Storm. And then in the spring of 2000, Rico joined the Harlem Globetrotters.
Man, and I loved the Globetrotters growing up.
Me too. They were like mythical figures when I was a kid. I mean, there was Magic Johnson and Larry Bird and Michael Jordan, right? All these great guys in the pros. But then you had the Harlem Globetrotters who did things that it seemed like nobody else could do.
Oh, it was so awesome, man. And I remember some guy named Curly. I can't remember what his.
Yeah. But was he the ball-headed guy, I think?
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why either, yeah.
That's like a great big guy being named Tiny or whatever.
But it was just amazing to watch. And, obviously when I grew up a little bit more, I realized it was scripted, some of it,
Yeah, like wrestling a little bit. But they still could do those things. I mean, you can't script the stuff that they were able to do. Now, the games and, I'm going to put the ball in my shirt and the ref can't find it. And some of that stuff like that, the antics were scripted.
Yeah.
But you had to be very, very talented to be a Harlem Globetrotter.
For sure.
Just 1 month after joining the team, Rico was out driving with a girlfriend in South Los Angeles when they got into an argument with a group of people. While talking to one of the men, someone hit him across the back of the head with a baseball bat. He was able to drive away, but he soon began experiencing intense headaches and had trouble keeping his balance. He had to leave the Globetrotters due to these after effects, marking the end of his basketball career at the age of 24.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah. But we've talked about it many times, head injuries. They can be so devastating.
Yeah.
Rico moved back to his mom's house in Alhambra after he left the Globetrotters. According to Margaret, things went downhill after that. It had a lot to do with him not having the career he wanted to have, feeling like he had become a failure. And I do think this is kind of the dark side of sports that a lot of people don't talk about. These kids are hyped from a very young age nowadays, even younger than they used to be. They're told they're going to be the next Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
That they're going to, have these big time college offers. They're going to go to the NBA, but they don't all make it. And then a lot of them, what do they have to fall back on?
Not much, because they always believed they were going to be the next Michael or Dr. J or Larry Bird or whoever, right?
Yeah. So they didn't maybe spend a lot of time studying, maybe just enough to get by. Some of them don't end up getting their degrees. And, it's kind of the sad part of sports. Rico had no job prospects. He really had no plans for his future, and he soon started drinking again. Margaret hoped Rico would, quote, snap out of it, but his addiction worsened, and he started using heroin, meth, and crack.
So he's just spiraling out of control.
Oh, he's going from bad to worse, right? Obviously, he had a problem with alcohol. Now he's into very, very hard drugs, heroin, meth, crack. One friend recalled that Rico would sniff Ajax just to feel a burn. That cannot be good for you.
I would not think so.
I'm not saying meth is good for you, but Ajax, that cannot be good for you at all.
No. I mean, that's like scouring powder.
Yeah. He experienced a lot of relapses. He was arrested over 100 times, mostly for public intoxication. Between 2001 and 2007, Rico faced 16 cases in LA County court for public intox, burglary, and trespassing. Rico was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but stopped taking medication because he didn't like how it made him feel, according to the LA Times.
That's going to be some rough times for him.
Well, you're okay with sniffing Ajax, but won't take your medication for a diagnosed disorder. Come on now. I mean, something is going on.
Yeah.
The thinking is flawed. There's no doubt about it. You know, he would spend a few days in jail and then, he'd go back to drinking. During one stint in jail, Rico saw his father. It was the first time they'd seen each other in years.
While in jail. Hey, Dad, remember me?
Remember that time you hit me in the chest with a hockey stick?
Yeah.
Rico's friend David Laura warned him, if you keep spiraling down the rabbit hole, the only way this ends is with you being dead.
Well, he's right.
He's 100% right. And that's a friend right there.
Yeah.
A friend is someone who will tell you the truth even when you don't want to hear it. And I'm sure Rico did not want to hear that, but he had to hear it. He lost a lot of jobs because of drinking. He occasionally begged in the streets to support his addiction.
You see how far he has tumbled.
Yeah. It was only in 2007, shortly after his 30th birthday, that he finally started to change. After overdosing on prescription medication, he entered a rehab facility operated by the Salvation Army in downtown LA. After finishing the program, Rico began attending daily support group meetings. He learned to let go of his anger towards others and himself. He got a job in the soup kitchen, preparing meals for patients in the clinic. He enjoyed using his math skills to calculate the amount of food needed for each meal. He felt like the work gave him purpose.
Everybody needs to feel like they have a purpose.
Yeah, I mean, it's an important thing.
It is.
But, we've not been talking about Rico in glowing terms, right? We've had to talk about a lot of things that, he did in his life that, frankly, were very self-destructive. But now we're getting to talk about something good.
Yeah.
He's turning his life around. He's going to daily meetings. He got a job at a soup kitchen. He's helping other people out. David Laura recalled to Fox Sports, it took him a long time to get to that place where he was socially comfortable again. He had gone into his own world. So when he reemerged, the world was a different place. People had turned their back on him. They were no longer interested in being his friend. He worked really hard to prove that he was a hardworking, good-natured, lovable human being. And I'm telling you right now, people will root for individuals like Rico Harris. Yeah, you've gone through some terrible things, some of which were your own fault, some things that you caused.
Yeah.
Now, how much of that had something to do with his father, we don't know. I'm sure there's something to it, but there's a story where when somebody turns their life around, that's a feel-good story.
It is. Everybody loves to come back.
Yeah. Rico moved in with Wilfredo Mayorga, another graduate of the program, and got a security job in the city of Bell. He also worked security at underground parties in LA to supplement his income. Let's not forget the guy was 6'8".
Yeah.
I'm sure he was a pretty big dude.
And he played a pretty good level of basketball, so he was not afraid to mix it up.
Yeah. Probably made a pretty good security guard. According to the LA Times, Rico would occasionally leave for 4 or 5 days without warning. He liked to drive out to Arizona or Nevada to clear his head. He would sometimes come back with stories about going on cruises or meeting women, but he never gave any details. Now, I don't know what kind of job you got that lets you leave for 4 or 5 days without warning. And maybe there is no job, and that once he got back, he'd have to find a new job. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like, hey, Bob, take me off the schedule for the next 5 days. I'll be back.
Maybe security would be one of those jobs. If you're at events or something, you just say, I'm not working those events.
Yeah.
In early 2012, Rico met a woman named Jennifer Song. While working security at a restaurant, Jennifer was an insurance broker visiting from Seattle. Rico took her photo and asked if he could text it to her. Jennifer recalled that Rico was shy but a gentleman. They soon started dating, spending long weekends in each other's cities. By September 2014, they were talking about getting married and having kids.
So he's really come a long way if you think about it.
Well, in this story arc of unbelievable talent to, at some point, rock bottom, to now working his way up out of it to the point where he's met someone, he seems to be doing well, and he's talking about getting married and having kids. I mean, it again, like you said, people love a comeback story.
Right.
Rico and his roommate, Wilfredo Mayorga, clashed over the relationship for unspecified reasons. Wilfredo gave Rico an ultimatum, him or Jennifer. Rico didn't like conflict, so he moved out in the middle of the night, leaving Wilfredo with the unpaid bills. And then 4 days later, he moved to Seattle to be with Jennifer. And I think that's a strange ultimatum to give to somebody.
It is.
Especially somebody who is infatuated, in love. They're not going to pick you, most likely.
It's like, hey, our friendship's good, but she does things you don't do for me.
And we're talking about getting married and having kids. But what you said is probably more likely to be the reason. But it wasn't long after Rico moved to Seattle that he started questioning his decision. According to interviews conducted by the lead detective in Rico's case, Jennifer could be controlling. They shared a Facebook page, credit cards, and a bank account. They also were arguing in the days after he moved in. Okay, sharing a Facebook page, I don't know how common that is. You know me, I'm not a Facebook person.
Yeah.
But I certainly wouldn't share a page with my wife.
Or your wife wouldn't share a page with you.
That's true too.
Yeah.
And I sure as hell wouldn't share one with you.
Well, you kind of do. It's
Well,
kind of true
yeah,
crime all the time.
You do, but you know, to share one like personal page, that I don't know. I don't think most people do that. Maybe I'm wrong.
Let me tell you what Mike's up to today.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's just like, I know some couples do it because it's how they are, right? They're close. They have the same friends. You talk to one, it's like talking to both.
Yeah, I get that.
But then you have other people, they just want to have their own identity, not doing anything wrong. They just want to have their own identity. And for you to like demand to be on the account with them, is that because insecurities? Is that because you don't trust them? Is that because you want to control them? Probably.
Yeah, I could see how that could be. It's also not a good sign when you're arguing a lot just days after moving in together. Because you would think be in that kind of honeymoon period, even though you're not married yet, but that new relationship period, it should be all peaches and cream.
And for Rico, you're going to wonder if you made the right decision to move that far away from where your home is.
Well, Rico's mother voiced concerns about his relationship to the detective, saying it was always a honeymoon because they saw each other every 3 months or so. She told Rico, it's different if you live together.
Well, that is true.
That's very true. There's some people who get along great, move in together and realize they cannot stand each other. Or it's not that they can't stand each other. They can't stand living with each other because it is a very different dynamic. Like you said, you have your space, you have your own kind of personal identity, and now you're combining it with someone else. And you're with that person pretty much all the time, except for, let's say, when you're at work, which is different than when you're dating.
Right.
And you go out to dinner, go to a movie, but then, eventually each person goes back to their own place, let's say, or their parents' house or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's just a different dynamic.
It really is. I mean, let me pop in for a few days, have some fun, and get on out. It's not going to be the same when you pop in and you don't pop back out.
You doing a lot of popping in and out?
Popping and rocking.
Popping and locking?
Yeah.
All right. 1980s called. They want your dance moves back. But this is troubling, right? Rico's mom telling detectives that Jennifer is controlling. Rico tried to settle into life in Washington. He got a Washington driver's license and arranged an interview for a job as a property appraiser, which he was looking forward to because it was the first time he held a skilled position unrelated to athletics.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, he was working security. All right, would you call that a skilled position? Some people might, but obviously he didn't look at it that way. He probably also thought that getting that job was related to his athletics in some sense because of, how strong he was, how he was built, how tall he was.
He had that stature.
Before the interview, Rico decided he needed to return to Alhambra to visit his mother and brother one more time. The drive from Seattle to Alhambra is 1,100 miles or about 18 hours.
I mean, that's a haul.
It is. Jennifer said about Rico's decision to go back to Alhambra in October, I think he realized some things and he wanted to talk to his mother. I think there are things that happened in his childhood and early adult life that continued with his decision to move to Seattle. He wanted her to trust him and trust us and believe in our relationship. And it's just so interesting to me that all these different things in his life either seem to point back to his childhood, or people are saying that they do.
Yeah.
And some of maybe the things that he dealt with his father. And I don't know. I'm not sure people understand just exactly how bad they can mess up their kids' lives.
They can definitely jack them up.
As he drove down I-5 to Alhambra, Rico called his mother and brother and sent a text confirming his job interview. He also talked to his friend David Lara. Rico expressed his desire to have a family one day. During that last conversation, as reported by the LA Times, Rico mentioned that he'd had a hard couple of months. He was struggling with depression and started drinking again.
Well, we know that when he drank last time, he could really turn it on.
And it caused him to spiral.
Yeah.
Right? Downward very quickly. You just wonder what was at that point causing his depression, which probably in turn caused him to start drinking again. Because it seemed like he'd been doing really well. There had to have been something.
Yeah, was it the relationship? Was it
Move? Yeah, we don't know. Rico arrived in Alhambra on October 9th, 2014. His visit was brief. He took one of his brothers out to eat and gave him a new cell phone as a gift. He also had a beer with his stepfather. During their visit, Rico questioned if moving was the right choice. His stepfather asked why he was moving then. Rico said, "Well, I'm ashamed of the things that happened down here, and I want to start another life." Rico then returned to his mother's home to talk to her alone privately. According to the LA Times, as he packed some of his clothes up, his mom told him about her disappointment and his relapse and urged him to pull it together. Rico agreed and apologized. I think his mom was a really big person in his life.
Oh, I agree with you. As a lot of moms are.
Yeah, maybe even more so for him because of what he went through with his dad.
Yeah. She was like the mom and the dad in that dynamic.
Margaret did not believe Rico got what he was hoping for out of the conversation. She told Fox Sports he wasn't in a good place and he had to clear his mind. Shortly after midnight on October 10th, Rico decided to start driving back to Seattle. His interview was scheduled for the 11th, and he had plans to attend a barbecue with Jennifer to meet his new neighbors. Rico drove north on I-5, leaving Alhambra. He stopped in Lodi, about 40 miles south of Sacramento, to get gas. He made a wrong turn, corrected himself, and passed north through Sacramento. He then got on Route 16. Rico talked to his mother at 9:45 a.m. As he passed through Sacramento, he left Jennifer a voicemail at 10:45 a.m. He told her he hadn't slept more than a few minutes in 36 hours and was going up into the mountains to rest. Now, it was said that he didn't sound uneasy in his voicemail. Rico's phone lost reception around 11:15 a.m. No one has heard from Rico or positively identified him since then. Jennifer called Rico's mother when he failed to show up in Seattle as expected. Margaret recalled that Rico had once disappeared for a few hours to San Diego, so they decided to wait and see if he would come back on his own. And that doesn't surprise me because I think we talked about it a couple times. This is a guy that would take off for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, he liked to drive long drives to clear his head.
Yeah. So, okay. Now, what I did think was strange is going up into the mountains to rest.
Maybe to get off the main drag, the main road, and just go up the mountain a little bit, find a little spot to pull over and
just sleep in his car.
Sleep in your car.
Yeah, I get that. I guess that makes sense. On October 14th, 2014, Officer Danny Del Castillo of the Yolo County Sheriff's Office pulled into Lowerside, a parking lot on Route 16. His job was to survey the area, look around campgrounds and rest stops, and take note of anything out of the ordinary. The parking lot faces a public restroom structure and a series of hiking trails. One trail starts across the creek and goes up into the hills. Smaller trails follow the water. Officer Del Castillo noticed the same black Nissan Maxima 2 days in a row. It was pulled up tightly against a row of bushes. And this is what really triggered alarms for him.
Yeah.
The doors were locked and the interior was messy. There were CDs, credit cards, and papers scattered around. Del Castillo ran the license plate. The car wasn't stolen, and there were no outstanding tickets or warrants. He called headquarters in Woodland. The sheriff decided to contact local authorities where the car was registered in Alhambra. 2 Alhambra officers went to the home of Margaret Fernandez and informed her that Rico's abandoned car had been found, but not Rico. Over the next 3 days, deputies searched a 27-mile stretch of Highway 16 and areas surrounding the Yolo County Park's lower site. Teams on ATVs and helicopters assisted, as well as an airplane with a thermographic camera and search dogs. So they brought out a good deal of equipment and individuals.
I mean, they're making the effort to try to find him.
Yeah, absolutely. But nothing was found. Rico's description was circulated in the media. There were a few potential sightings reported. A motorist thought he saw Rico sitting on a guardrail overlooking the creek near the parking lot at 5:30 a.m. on October 11th. One passerby along Route 16 reported seeing a man who fit Rico's description walking along the road at 8 a.m. Investigators noted Rico's car was out of gas and the battery was nearly dead. His wallet and all his cards, except for a Discover card, were in the car. No charges have been made on the Discover card since Rico went missing. He also took his phone and driver's license with him. You know, and the one thing that I kind of want to talk about is potential sightings, right? We talk about that in a lot of cases.
We do.
But I would think Rico being 6'8" would help lend credibility to some of the sightings. I mean, it'd be much different if he was 5'10", right? A lot of men are 5'10", are 5'11" or 6 foot, there are not that many people who are 6'8".
But yeah, when you say 6'8",
it narrows the population down quite a bit. And what are the odds that there's going to be multiple guys who are 6'8" at this place on this day?
Very unlikely.
Yeah. As opposed to, well, there might be 10, 20, 30 guys that are 5'11".
I mean, the car is almost out of gas, or the car is out of gas, and the batteries almost ran down. Maybe he fell asleep with the car running, and it ran out of gas, and, then the battery was slowly dying out. So then he had to go find a way to get more gas or get help. And maybe that's why they saw him walking and sitting in these different spots.
Yeah, okay, I get that, but why take just the Discover card? If you're going on foot to try to, go get something, wouldn't you want your wallet and all your cards? What if the place you get to doesn't take Discover?
Well, I mean, it's a good point. I mean, what a great commercial if he did come back with gas with his Discover card, because you can say the only card you ever need is the Discover card. But that didn't happen. Maybe his other cards didn't have any room to charge anything on them.
That could be, but still, why leave your wallet? You don't have to.
Why not just throw it all in your pocket and walk with it, right?
Yeah. There were 2 plastic bottles in the car. One was mostly full of liquor, and the other was empty but smelled strongly of alcohol.
So he's most likely drank a bit.
Yeah, either on the way down or on the way back, or maybe even both. On October 18th, another sighting was reported. A man who drove past the parking lot told police he saw a large man wearing light-colored pants similar to those Rico had been wearing when he left his mom's house early that morning. The following day, a trail of fresh foot impressions left by size 18 sneakers, consistent with those Rico wore, were found leading from the parking lot to the creek where his car had been parked. And that's another great clue because, just like being 6'8", not many people wear size 18 sneakers.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty limited. And my boy wears size 14. I thought those were big.
Yeah, 18, that's a large shoe. Investigators then found Rico's backpack on the side of the road nearly 2 miles from the lower site parking lot and about 1,500 feet from the guardrail he was reported to have been sitting on October 11th. Inside the backpack was Rico's phone, charger, and other personal items. There were no rips in the backpack. There were no scratches on the phone. Investigators suspected that he left it there accidentally, or possibly because he wanted to avoid detection through his phone's GPS. Rico's phone contained photos of Cache Creek and some selfies, including one in which Rico was standing in front of a sign, welcoming drivers to Yolo County, striking what authorities called a playful pose. There were also some videos that appeared to have been taken unintentionally. The videos were dark, but officers could hear Rico singing and tossing the contents of his wallet and CDs around the car. They were timestamped for the night of October 10th, showing he was alive and in his car at that time. And who hasn't done that on their phone, right? Accidentally hit the button to start recording a video. You don't know it's on.
I've never done that.
Oh, I've done that. You ever butt dialed somebody?
No.
Okay. Do you use your phone in any capacity?
No, I've butt dialed plenty of people.
Okay. Maybe it's just me. Because sometimes when I think I'm taking a photo, it's on video. I've swiped it, on accident.
Yeah, we've meaning me and a few other your friends have gotten some videos from you in the past. We don't ever bring it up because of the
nature of the video.
Yeah, we're like, just best to delete.
But
this.
You did post them.
Well, the 2 I did. The other ones I deleted. They weren't even safe to post.
Detective Dean Nyland from the Yolo County Sheriff's Department was the primary investigator in Rico's case. One of the first things he did was contact AT&T to map out Rico's movements using cell tower pings. Rico went north on I-5, east of Route 20 before pausing and turning around and heading west back across I-5, then turning south toward the Capay Hills on Route 16. Nyland found texts from Rico's brother and roommate and some business-related messages. There were calls to his mother and girlfriend, but no calls or messages suggesting he was meeting someone near the Lower Site parking lot. Now, I just wonder if, this kind of correlates to him not getting that much sleep, because to me, this would be the place to pull over.
Right.
Right? Maybe take a cat nap or something.
I wonder if it was the fact that he was tired, and maybe because he was drinking.
Yeah. It could dovetail into your theory of, okay, he's got the car on, maybe he's running the AC, doesn't realize he doesn't have that much gas, he falls asleep, the car runs out of gas, and then the battery dies.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Possible.
I mean, a lack of sleep paired with drinking alcohol. I mean, drinking alcohol on its own while you're driving is terrible.
It is.
But when you pair it with a lack of sleep, that's a real bad combination.
Yeah, if you remember what he told Jennifer, he said he was been up for 36 hours with just a few minutes of sleep. I mean, your mind's going to play tricks on you at that point.
That wouldn't be good for me if I was sober as a judge.
Yeah.
Lack of sleep can have some real detrimental effects. And I can just imagine drinking on top of that. It cannot be good.
By the way, are judges always sober?
I think they're supposed to be.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if they always are, but I'm pretty sure they're supposed to be. Nyland questioned Jennifer about why she waited to report Rico missing. She explained that she and Rico's mother agreed to wait, hoping he would turn up. She tried to contact him multiple times. And again, I go back to, him having a history of going off to clear his head for days, if not almost a week at a time. If somebody doesn't have that history, well, maybe it changes things and you call right away or call much sooner. But if somebody's got that track record, they have that history, maybe you do wait a little bit longer. When speaking to Fox Sports, Detective Nyland provided his theory about the sighting and footprints from October 19th. He believes Rico came back for his car, which had been towed, and then disappeared into the woods. He told Fox Sports, initially, he probably voluntarily walked away or got a ride. We have no sighting, so he probably got a ride. But how does this guy not pop up somewhere? I mean, big guy, has to eat 3 or 4 times a day. I can see how a lot of people who don't stand out can disappear, but this guy stands out.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
And that's kind of what we were talking about. 6'8", size 18 shoe. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
He is probably somebody you're going to remember if you see him in a gas station or at a restaurant. Now, he's not 7 foot tall, but again, 6'8" is pretty tall.
Like I said, big guy.
On October 22nd, the sheriff's office announced it was scaling back the search. Investigators asked the same question. How could a guy like this, right, 6'8", some reports had him at 6'9". They said at that point he weighed like 300 pounds.
Yeah.
So how could this guy just simply vanish into thin air?
I can be taller too when I wear my lifts.
The fact that you have special shoes made just to make you like an inch taller, that's what really throws me.
It's the Tom Cruise brand.
In November, cadaver dogs searched the valley and professional divers checked sinkholes in the creek. Detective Nyland also checked homeless shelters and transient camps. Nyland suspected Rico purchased meth, probably from the town of Clear Lake, which is known for the meth trade. Fox Sports writer Flender Boyd drove to Clear Lake and spoke to a local who asked not to be named, who said he believed he saw Rico on the day he arrived in the Capay Valley. He claimed one of his friends sold meth to Rico in the Lower Site parking lot before he walked to the creek, but that was all he knew. Detective Nyland feels confident there's no foul play involved in Rico's disappearance. Rico came to Route 16 of his own free will. There was no evidence of a struggle in or near his car. Rico's family wondered if he had a secret bank account he didn't share with Jennifer, and that he was possibly alive and in hiding. Authorities suspect Rico may have left his phone behind to avoid being tracked. So, I mean, there's a lot going on here, Gibbs, right?
There is.
And there's a lot of possibilities. As we wrap up this case, it's possible that Rico decided to wander around the area for a few days to clear his head. And when he returned to the parking lot, his car was gone. Perhaps he walked back into the woods. Maybe he walked towards another town. Maybe he got a ride from someone, who was passing by.
Could have. But he could also wandered into the woods and just never came back out.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he could have maybe encountered something in the woods, maybe hurt himself accidentally in the woods and couldn't get back. And there's a lot of possibilities. Now, depending on how far he had gone, if he had died out in the woods, somewhat close, you would think a cadaver dog would have picked that up, but it could be a big area.
It could be.
And we don't know how much of that area they searched. Detective Nyland told Fox Sports, "I do believe the man left LA torn and conflicted. This is going through his mind as he's coming up. I can see him making that left as he goes through the mountains. I can see him just wanting to hike or listen to his music, just get out of Dodge. Hey, I don't have to be here." And, I think you have to go back and look at his use of alcohol, look at his use of drugs. At certain points, he was doing better, but he relapsed at times, as people often do. The alcohol in the car to me is a bad sign as far as where he was in his sobriety. If he's drinking, is it a stretch to think that maybe he was also doing some harder drugs, as one person suggested, that their friend sold him drugs?
Yeah. I mean, he was kind of spiraling out, right? He was.
But he suffered with depression. He was diagnosed, with bipolar disorder, and he wouldn't take his medication.
Yeah.
So it did seem like he went through cycles. And it could be that at this point, leaving LA, heading back to Seattle, being very, very unsure whether that was the right move, he was in one of those really low cycles. Add in sleep deprivation, drinking, possibly meth, and I think the possibilities just open up of what could have happened to him. And we haven't talked about it, but there obviously is the possibility of foul play. Now, I get it. The detective doesn't believe that, but if he's outside the car and he's wandering around the woods, well, then no sign of struggle at the car really doesn't play into whether or not he could have met with foul play somewhere in the woods.
That's true. He could have. It's definitely mysterious, right?
Yeah, it's a big mystery because, we don't know if he's alive, dead. Did he drop off the grid and go start a new life somewhere? Did he decide to end his life? Did he meet with foul play? I mean, there's so many different things that are on the table that at this point, I don't know that any of them can be crossed off.
I just feel like some accident must have happened.
Are you thinking like accident out in the woods?
Yeah. Yep.
That prevented him from getting back and, he succumbed to the elements. And I mean, that's a possibility.
I mean, when you're a big guy, 300 pounds of weight, if you fall, it might be hard to recover from. Plus, if you're so tired, if you haven't slept very long and 36 plus hours, and add, potential alcohol and drugs.
You could break a leg.
Yeah.
And just not be able to get back and die out there. I also don't think you can rule out like an accidental overdose.
Possible.
Because those happen as well.
They do.
And they just haven't found his body yet. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, if he is deceased and they ultimately find his body, most likely they'll be able to determine something from that, maybe.
Yeah.
But maybe not. If all they find is skeletal remains and there's no marks on any of the bones,
it's a mystery again.
It could still be mystery.
I just hope that he's alive and one day he reaches out to his family.
Yeah, well, for the family, right, you want them to have answers. To just be totally in the dark, not knowing what happened to your loved one, that's tough. That's really tough. But that's it for our episode on the disappearance of Rico Harris. We got a voicemail, Gibbs. You want to check that out?
Let's hear it.
Hey guys, this is Caveman from Road Burger, Oregon. I called you a while back to give you some information about suppressors. I was just listening to your episode on David Grubbs out of Ashland, and yeah, it's pretty common around here. That's the south end of the county. I live at the north end of the county. It's pretty common around here that people carry swords. I saw a guy the other day in Rouge, this little town. He had a samurai sword on his back. It's not that uncommon. I don't know why. But yeah, people like their swords. I actually have a sword myself. I have an Albion bastard sword. Anyway, it's kind of cool, but I don't think I'd carry it around. Anyway, guys, just giving you some more weapon information about Southern Oregon. This is Caveman. Keep your own time ticking and keep your head on a swivel, guys. Bye.
All right, Caveman helping us out with more info. I'll be honest with you, Gibbs. I'm 52 years old.
Yeah.
I've lived in Ohio almost my entire life. I lived in Michigan for about 3 years. In 52 years, I've never seen anyone walking down the street with a sword.
Me neither.
So that is just so foreign to me.
It's very bizarre. But
I've seen people carrying a rifle.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Walking down the street.
But not a sword.
But not a sword.
But hey, may the force be with them.
Exactly.
Yeah. I need to come clean on something. I used to be a member of the Harlem Earth Dribblers.
Mm-hmm.
Harlan County, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to tour the state of Kentucky, put on basketball shows. I was the point man.
Is that similar to the point guard?
Yeah, we just called it the point man.
You just keep showing your lack of knowledge of sports over and over.
That's awesome.
It cracks me up. All right, buddy. That is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
Of free movies and TV shows.
We're coming at you with everything we got.
This is the mindset. Free. This is the mantra. Free. This is the mindset. With movies like Pineapple Express, the entire Star Trek film franchise, and Gladiator, and TV shows like Survivor, SpongeBob SquarePants, The Fairly Odd Parents, and Ghosts, Pluto TV is always free. Huzzah! Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.